We gotta find where they bring it all. My brother had one, I see he's in Jersey somewhere, he was taking pictures of bears. That's from Jersey into that. It's insane. They can get me 200, a little 200, $5 for two camels. It's insane. And it'll take you a rip and flash, you know what I mean? I said, I said that was $12 a month. So now I see one, they make one where it shows 360. So something there, but followers. Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Solar powered or?
I think just come like these, you can get solar powered. These here are, I think there's 10 double-A batteries in, put on that. So instead of a brother, okay, how long was that?
And then you have to put them into there.
It must tell you the battery's going like.
Yeah, he said, you click it, look, it gives you all this.
But she had so much temperature.
And then it'll tell like the battery's full. So he goes, alright, gives me more information than I need to know. On anymore, but they're over split. Middle of the day, I'll be like, sometimes I go to break my son's. Did you see the cat? Cause he must look at it all day long.
English was their second language. And she doesn't know Spanish. So I'll picture, you know, deciding one thing, but it's not.
She's gonna try to. I told her
Can you see her?
Oh, I can.
Okay, are you sure? I just, oh,
No, I saw it. You kind of leaned forward and I'm like, yeah, I got it. We won this weekend, I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, the students, they're.
Why did you win them?
English.
It's
faster.
Yeah, they don't lose. Okay.
She was at her sister-in-law passed away. Yeah, well,
Scott. I just realized that.
don't they always?
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Arndt.
Here.
Ms. Cook. Ms. Eisenhart. Here. Ms. Falcone. Here. Mr. Haney.
Here.
Ms. Hassler.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
And Ms. Plummer. Here.
Okay, Borough Manager.
Okay, before you, council, you have a draft of the budget for 2025 that is proposed. For those in the audience, the budget is the first step of planning for the future for the borough, expenses and revenue, whether it be short-term or long-term. It's required by law that we pass this by December 31st, 2024, but hopefully we will make some decisions over the next couple of months that it doesn't have to go that long into December. This is the first of several meetings. Council has the ability to, although this will go on display, to make changes from now to the passage of the budget. Like most municipalities, we are fund accounting. So the three funds that we work with are the general fund, the water fund, and the sewer fund. The water fund is an enterprise fund, and the sewer fund is an enterprise fund. That means they should be self-sustaining. The revenue that they get in should be the only need that they have for their expenses. Same with the sewer fund. The general fund, as you're well aware, the main revenue source is real estate taxes and like EIT, employment taxes, as our revenue source. Some of those go toward our fire company and our ambulance currently. So in spending, we try to limit our expenditures to what we can afford with those revenue sources. It's really not allowed for us to transfer money from sewer into general, money from water into general. Because they're self-sustaining, they should retain their revenues. If we need to help out sewer or water, we sometimes are in a pinch, and you will see in this budget that we are in a pinch with our Washington Street pump station, and that we are in need of more funding than what we have on hand and what we budgeted in 2024. So we may need to take money from general fund just to cover the expenditure to get that done. So that's a change this year that you might not have seen in the last few years. So our general fund, as you know, from coming to previous council meetings, covers our building and the park area, our streets, our other buildings, whether it be, you know, the maintenance building or the salt shed, street lights, just the general things. That's why they call it general. And anything related to our drinking water system, whether it be the pipes that take it to your house, or the watershed property, or the plant itself on Woodside. Same with sewer. The sewer pipes, the plant itself, and any operational maintenance at both of those plants. So that's what is comprised in each fund. We also have liquid fuels funds that come from the state, paying for gas at the pump. Part of that fee comes to municipalities based on their miles of roads. We get a modest amount for that and any roads that were turned back to the borough. We try to accumulate that, but those funds are eligible to be spent on eligible streets in the borough. Not maintaining them, but usually reconstructing them. the maintenance of them, we may use those funds to purchase salt, and that's what we regularly do every year. And besides that, we do have a pool fund, even though we've closed the checking account for it. As you can see, the pool is being demolished, but we still must account for maintenance of it until it is completely demolished and insuring that part of the property. I think the last page of, the last 2 pages of the handout that has the pictures of Topton are the most illustrative for our needs. The economy recently has jacked up prices for all kinds of things for homeowners as well as for the borough, especially things such as chemicals for treating the drinking water so it's safe and for treating the effluent at the sewage treatment plant. That is something that you can relate to, and then additional concerns would be the future of providing for another source of water. And we are trying to work on that, but it's going to be an expensive endeavor of finding a new alternate well. The wastewater treatment plant and the water plant always needs maintenance and upgrades, and it only can last so long until we need to do major renovations in the future, one of which is hopefully going to occur at the wastewater treatment plant this year with the chlorination tank. But just like the pump station at Washington Street, these are major expenditures. We also need to do capital planning for our future from now going forward, using what funds we have and then mapping out a plan each year with the help of Julie being our streets chair. Everything is aging, including the streets and the building that we're sitting in, so a little bit needs to go a long way in the borough of Topton. Then the final page does illustrate for the public how we have spent, budgeted and spent in 21, 22, and 23. We're not to the end of 24, but we would have those figures in January. In 23, it does look large because of the TASA project with the pathways through the park. Otherwise, it did stay pretty steady over the last few years, but still that's a lot of money in the general fund that needs to be allocated, and there's only finite sources of revenue for those expenditures on a yearly basis as they stay status quo, but as things rise, it just grows, I'm afraid. Same with water and sewer. They are as you know, the major source of revenue for water and sewer are the rents, the user fees for our water and sewer that come from the property owners' bills every quarter. We do try to do as many grant applications as we can, but that also requires at times match. So we're trying to only do them selectively in the future. You've seen a lot of activity with grants for the last few years, especially with the park, but handling that, sometimes the match is overwhelming. So we do have one currently and a couple of others coming up, but we're trying to save the grants for major projects. The other handout that you saw on the table were pie graphs, pie charts of just the expenses, not the revenue. So you can see what takes up most of the revenue in each of our funds with general, water, and sewer. So we expect in the proposed budget to have a total budget that exceeds $1 million for general. It's 1.8 million for water, it would be approximately 500,000, a little less than 500,000. And then for sewer, it would be a little, 1.3, a little over 1.3 million. And besides that, it does not show an increase in rents for water and sewer or a tax increase in this proposed budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to ask for a motion to display and advertise our proposed 2025 budget. Kathy,
I'll make a motion.
a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
So that will be on display at Borough Hall. During normal business hours, anyone can come in and view the budget.
Okay. Any other discussion from council before we move into hearing of visitors? All right. Hearing of visitors. If you're a resident and you want to comment on the current or the proposed budget, please raise your hand, wait to be called upon, state your name, and that you live in town.
It's kind of hard to comment when we haven't seen it.
True.
So you will be giving us opportunities to comment at the next meeting? No? Is that correct?
And then
Yeah.
in between that time, it'll be on display for you to look at, take notes, do whatever you need.
Yes, and we made some serious cuts, so I encourage everybody to review it.
Diane Stevenson, Hampshire Avenue. I just have a question, and I'm sorry. The water and sewer, is that only for Topton Borough?
There's a little bit of Mertztown going up Borough Hall Street, but it's basically Topton.
And
Woodside.
And Woodside.
And Woodside. Okay.
So they also contribute then to the funds, you know, the water
They get a
and
water
sewer
bill,
funds,
yes.
okay. So I wasn't sure how broad, you know, our water and sewer plants, or our water and sewer helped around, outside of our community.
I think Woodside only goes up to what, from the watershed down.
Right, from the plant
water-
down,
From
yeah.
the watershed
Yep.
down is Woodside.
Okay.
It's not a lot of
No.
Not,
residents.
it's 98%
And
borough.
then Topton Lutheran Home gets our sewer services.
Okay, but so then they pay.
Under contract, yes,
they
under
pay
a
sewer,
contract.
so they
yes.
don't get water,
No.
but they use our
Currently, no.
sewer.
That's correct.
Okay,
When does that run out? Does it run out soon?
Yes.
No? Cause they have a good deal there, right?
so again, I'm sorry if I'm asking a stupid question, so when we have problems and when we have to make renovations or, we pass those costs on to everybody, including Topton, like for our sewer plants.
Yep, and that's one of our biggest challenges, is planning for repairs and maintenance and improvements on such a very small budget. So,
Where there's just, I mean, we're just such a small community.
mhm.
I mean, we're just not that many people.
We have 2,244 residents, I think,
2,041 residents.
2,041 residents and less than 1,000 paying water bill. 900.
Yep, just slightly over 925.
So that little bit of revenue has to pay for everything. That's why it's so very, very hard.
Right? I don't think that many people understand that.
And Reading might have a big wastewater treatment plant and we might have a small one, but the regs apply to both and the permits apply to both and everything is very costly.
And we all have the same regulations.
Yes, yes.
They don't make any difference, how large or small?
You sell one drop of water, you're under those regulations. When
Correct.
you sell 1 million gallons, yeah.
Right, thank you, I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure where if we sold outside. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
It sounds as though you just said that there would be no increases in taxes.
At this proposed budget,
This
no.
proposed budget, so was a decision made prior that that was the goal in creating the budget?
No, it was just me as the borough manager proposing a budget to council.
Okay, so that the cuts that you're talking about, the serious cuts, are, it's an assumed, our goal as a council is not to raise taxes.
Yes, our goal is
And
definitely not to
that's
raise
an
taxes.
assumption that you made, but you never really voted on or gave Stacy direction. Is that correct?
I think she knows that we all
Yeah.
feel like we're gonna try not to raise taxes. 1 mil brings in, what, $78,000?
Approximately.
You know, that's,
Yeah, we just recently had a millage increase and a water rate increase. And none of us wanna do that 2 years in a row.
So it's up to the community to review and then come back and say to you, we're willing to take an increase in order to fund
We,
adequately.
yeah, we have some major unknowns yet. So this draft budget may be far from the final budget.
I don't know, were you at the meeting where we got the bids for the Washington Street pump station?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not.
No, I mean, I understand. I
Yeah,
understand we're a small borough, so the other question I have is, because I've only lived here a few years, was there ever discussion about merging with another township such as Longswamp?
I don't believe so.
There was a discussion many years ago on that, it never went beyond a discussion. And Long Swamp didn't seem to really want us, because we're top heavy with a lot of debt. But they'd have to be part of, our county commissioners, we had a meeting with last year, was that when they had their meeting here?
I think it was last year, yeah.
And, they said the only way we would really qualify for a number of grants that we currently can't qualify for were if we joined and made us a larger, borough or part of a township.
Topton would essentially go away then.
I just wondered if that had been any part of the considerations. Or,
That
I mean,
would
I
be-
hear you all saying we're in deficit, we're, you know, we don't have enough money. Well, maybe we don't have enough population to sustain this small borough anymore. And maybe that means we need to go larger. You're the council. I'm just telling you what's gone through my head.
I wouldn't support that at all.
no, I don't wanna lose Topton.
Yeah, I would be in favor of that. This is an issue we see with a lot of small municipalities. We're providing water and sewer for very few users, and we still have to provide a treatment plant that provides everything. And if we could add 500 users to our plant, but then that means we bring in massive development and growth, and then we have to start rebuilding infrastructure and streets, and that actually was something that was discussed about 10 to 15, maybe 15 years ago, when many of the large tracts of land were sold to a very large developer that sat just outside of Topton and in Long Swamp Township. And there were, I think, 2,000 units that were proposed in some of the plans that were given to Long Swamp Township, and they actually wanted to try to grow our sewer treatment plant at the time, so we could bring in more houses. But then we had an issue because we only have the regulations on the Little Lehigh, which feeds into a high quality stream. The Little Lehigh is deemed a high exceptional value stream. Then our discharge had to meet a different criteria from what I recall at the time, which would have cost us a massive amount of money, and it was just such a big thing and this was all in very detailed discussions 10 to 15 years ago. And then that land ended up being sold to someone then who was not going to develop it, and that all kind of went away. But we still have some problem areas in Long Swamp Township that need to be serviced by our water and sewer plants that really haven't hooked up yet. Along State Street, there's a lot of failures of systems because of when those systems were put in, and at some point we'll have a slightly few more users on the system, but it's not gonna help our costs go down though.
No, thank you for the history.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's tough.
Okay, any other budget questions?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just curious if you could go through the major cuts that you made for this budget?
Well, as everyone's aware, we terminated the contract with Fleetwood Police. That doesn't help us in 2025, but it'll help us after. And we also cut funding to YMCA in this proposed budget. We cut funding to some of the library's funding, not all of it. Safety net, yeah, we cut safety net.
And TCOC. What do you mean by cut safety net?
Zero funding.
So then who's gonna be our animal control officer? Do we not need one? Thought we had to have one.
I don't know that answer. So,
I thought we did
and
have to
this-
have one. So then
There
who would
could
we
be-
contact for any type of wild dog, stray dog, etc.?
Well, we still have a police department in Fleetwood for 2025.
And they would do that?
Hmm?
Do we know where they would take it?
They usually consult us when it's discovered and we work together with wild. But then with stray dogs, it's them trying to
It's their
do their
choice.
best to find the home, and then they do their normal procedure, I guess, taking it back to the station and then doing communications from there to try to find the owner.
we are very hopeful that by the middle of November, we'll have a signed contract with the union employees. And we can, hopefully, if they sign in time, we can reestablish some of these cuts. But all of that is unknown. Go ahead.
How much was cut from the library?
We matched Long Swamp's contribution per capita.
I don't live in Long Swamp, so I don't know.
We cut it,
What's the?
there's $5,122.91 in the budget.
So you cut it.
You cut it by about 10 grand.
Yeah, you cut 2/3 out.
So I would encourage the library to go to the other municipalities and see if they can't increase their contribution.
Yeah, I think that we're in Topton. And so the greatest value is to the Topton residents who can walk, who have a 35% poverty rate and can make use of the resources that the library has.
We don't disagree. This-
So, right.
There could
so
be another round of
again-
cuts.
Again, the other possibility is to increase taxes. And And that's always, I mean, that's sort of what you do, that's what we do in a household.
Another
We go out
option,
and get another job.
another
You
option
know?
is, and I would like to see us maybe look at this in a little more detail, seeing where we might be able to tighten our belts in other areas. If there's any spending, 1,000 here, 1,000 there, that we could maybe redirect some of that at some point.
Well, the biggest problem is we're planning for the unknown. And we're trying to make very little go very far. And until we start getting those unknowns to be known, until we can put the union contract aside and say we're done with it, until we can find money for the pump station and be done with it, it's gonna hurt all the way around.
I implore you to reconsider that library funding. I mean, I'm a lifelong reader, and
If we get a signed contract by November 15th, I can guarantee you'll get your money back.
Topton has been carrying a massive portion of the load. If you look at per capita, Long Swamp is paying like this much and Topton is paying that much, and that's just not right.
We pay 3 times as much.
Yeah.
Because we're located in.
Long Swamp.
Right.
And I think Long
You're
Swamp,
actually in Long Swamp.
Long Swamp has given things that they, in addition to what they've indicated in their budget though also, haven't they? Haven't they bought extra things besides what they said in their budget?
I do not know, I'm sorry, that's not something that
Okay,
I'm aware of.
I just heard that,
And it could be true,
okay.
again, because I'm new. Still learning all the ropes, but.
I think it's very unfair to the residents of Topton to keep carrying such a disproportionate amount of the funding. And particularly with the situation we're in, with so many crises all at the same time. Long Swamp needs to step up. It would be nice if the other two would also, but.
It's not for lack of asking.
So, this is far from over. This is the draft budget. We have to advertise it. So, this is opening the door. We're gonna wait for a response from the Teamsters. I hope they like our offer. I hope they take it in time that we can take advantage of some of the savings. If they don't, it could get worse.
On that note, with the water bill, you had provided some information regarding that. I noticed there's only, one indicated here for a wastewater treatment plant. The one did resign. There was no mention of posting for that position. Are we just having one?
Listed by position, not by person.
Okay, are you advertising for that second wastewater?
Not yet.
Okay, so poor Alex is alone. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.